think, Linda, we can start. Thanks for having us here, Linda. We already had the possibility to know more about your art. I think it was the second tour that we had, and we really love your art. That is a particular kind of art because it's also taken with a mobile phone. So, but today we have something special here because you are also in an environment created from Pitonis, and it's a beautiful city. You will explain us later what we are doing here and what they created here. But I would like to say thanks to you, Linda, that you are having us here. And we are also curious to know more about this gallery here and this opportunity that you have here to exhibit in this amazing space. So the word is back to you, Linda, and thanks for having us here.
Thank you all for coming, Stefano. I'm really honored to welcome you all to the city of Populys. And I'm especially excited because I've just seen that the creator of the city, XRNC, who was not sure if he was going to be able to be here, has just joined us. He's just behind me on the right. So my suggestion is that I a little bit about the gallery first, and then XRNC can maybe take us on a tour of the city, and maybe we can finish off with a little dance in the disco afterwards. So Populys is really a beautiful city, wonderfully created, XRNC very talented, and it's a functioning city. There's so many things one can do here. You can go to a bank, you can visit a newsroom, you can go to the cinema. There's even a scary house for people with the Oculus where things jump out at you. They record podcasts. There's an events arena. So for me, this is like I've arrived in the future. And I was very, very honored when RAM, that's XRNC, invited me to have this exhibition in his art gallery. Normally, when you land in the city, you land in an entrance hall that has a functioning bot. Her name is Estrella. And if you speak to Estrella in Spanish, she can answer you. But because to save people having to find the gallery for this event, RAM very generously changed the landing point so that people could land straight into the gallery and not have to find it first. Another thing I should just mention before we start, that there's audio fall off throughout the city. So we need to stick together if we wish to hear each other. Otherwise, even people at the other side of the gallery won't be able to hear each other. So after that short introduction, maybe just a little bit about my art. We can maybe start over in this corner, just that we keep moving and not just in one spot all the time. Some of you know my work, but for those of you for whom my work is new, as Stefano mentioned, I create all my artworks entirely on my iPhone from beginning to end. When I'm out, I capture my own images, my own photographs, using a slow shutter technique on my iPhone. I then paint on my iPhone screen using my finger, and I also use various apps to create my own textures and blends. When I'm photographing, I am focusing on the energy that I sense around people. So I often say I don't photograph people, I photograph energy. And just an interesting little story, when I first got into the metaverse and I started exploring, I found this little place called Art at the Fireplace, and I was the only one there, and I loved the energy of the place. So a few days later, I came back and I found a man sitting at the fireplace, and his name was Stefano. And we got talking, and I discovered that he too photographs energy. So that was my connection to Stefano, how I got involved with Art at the Fireplace, and how I'm now part of Stations on Tour.
How many bad people you meet in the metaverse, Linda?
I beg pardon?
I will say, how many bad people you meet in the metaverse?
Many lovely people, Stefano. So as I mentioned, I focus on the energy, and it's really very much an intuitive process because you only have that 1 second when you see something to capture what you're seeing before that person turns a corner or goes into a store or somebody else steps in front of them. So I think I have to be very mindful when I'm photographing. So in one sense, my practice flows out of my my artwork flows out of my mindfulness practice. And in a sense, it's become a practice in itself. So when I'm out photographing, I'm having to be very mindful. And please, if you want to interrupt and make a comment, feel free to do so. I'm just going to move down a little bit. Join me here. I started practicing the slow shutter technique, and not long after that, I had the privilege of attending a whirling dervish ceremony in Istanbul. And that was really a turning point for me with my art, because I was so captivated by the dervishes, and I wanted to portray in my art the whole concept of being rooted, of remaining on one spot, but moving at the same time. So that's a theme that runs throughout my work, rootedness and movement occurring simultaneously. I'll move down again and mention another point. If you look at the figures in my artwork, you'll notice that they are rooted in a spot, but at the same time, they appear to be moving in another realm, in another dimension, beyond normal space and time. And they invite the viewer to follow them, as it were, and to think about what the story is that is waiting to unfold for them. Get to questions just now, and then a word about this specific exhibition. It's called Pathways, which I thought was appropriate, seeing as we're in a city where we can follow many different paths. But the idea was that there are those of us that move along the paths that we always know. They're clearly designated, they're marked, and we trust these paths. But then there are those of us who are almost called forth to participate in making new undiscovered or forging new undiscovered routes. This requires us to have curiosity, an open mind, and a willingness to risk unknown adventures, to chart new territories, and then to go out and share our experiences. I have traveled along the paths of mindfulness, the corridors of cyberspace, the hallways of augmented reality, and I've just recently entered the virtual spaces of the metaverse. So with this exhibition, Pathways, I'm wanting to share those ideas and invite people to follow this new pathway into the metaverse and see how they're able to use it to further their particular art or create their own beautiful spaces. The last section of the gallery, thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention something. You see this lady over here? Sorry, if you can just run back here quickly. The lady called Keep Moving. If you have time and you're able to come back later, there's an app. I'm putting it into the chat right now. It's called RT Vive. Let me see if I stop. There we go. RT. If you've got the app RT Vive and you come and you hold the app up against this piece called Keep Moving, this piece has augmented reality in it, so you'll be able to see her moving on the screen of your phone. I just realized that when I mentioned augmented reality a moment ago. Let's go to the last section of the gallery. The last section here has a little bit more about me, and there's a non-avatar photo. There's my biography. In the corner there's a portal to my space in Spatial called Linda's Stillness in Movement. And behind that, there's a catalog, which we've created specially for this exhibition, and where I'm offering anybody who visits the gallery 25% of all my artworks. So I'm also trying to introduce the concept of not just the digital, but also the physical. I guess we can call it the phygital, so that all these aspects are
I like that.
available in this space. I'm hoping Ram is still here, but before we ask him to show us more of the city, I'd really be happy to take some questions and hear your comments.
If anybody's saying something, Linda, I say that I really love your art. I really like this idea that you take a picture and then you paint on that because it's creating a mix that is also a little bit abstract but real at the same time. And I love this part because you can really work with your imagination, what is behind it. And this kind of movement that you give is allowing us to imagine what is happening in the scene. So I love that really. Congratulations.
Thank you, Stefania. What I can also mention is that to further sort of explore this idea of rootedness and movement, I thought movement is the technology that we have now. Everything's moving so fast. We're able to do everything with technology, but we also have to remember always to be grounded. So to bring in those two aspects, you can say the movement part is my iPhone, and the groundedness, the rootedness is the fact that most of these works are printed onto recycled wood because a tree is really rooted. So I thought I'd use wood to print the works onto.
Linda, I have a question.
Please, Simon.
Yeah. So the evolution of this idea, because did you have like a eureka moment, or was it a very sort of gradual little steps move towards this? Because it's kind of like almost like a hammer blow of, you know, you've really sort of consolidated this idea and almost a philosophy about the work. Did you have like a very sort of quick coming together that, you know, did it consolidate as an idea quickly, or did it take years or months?
Well, I've been doing this for, I think it's almost 10 years now. And as I mentioned to you, the eureka moment was the whirling dervish ceremony. But then the philosophy all around that has evolved.
Yeah.
Well, Linda, I mentioned to you last night that that these evoke dreams, and the fact that you can't often see faces in dreams, and that's what your work feels like to me. And I love the fact, and again, we talked a little bit about this last night, is you can tell the way these people are walking just by the pose. Like some look determined, some look lost, but they're just so evocative, and that's what I love so much about them. Is just this feeling like there's a story behind each one.
Thanks, Dave. And you know, another thing about seeing them from behind is I've thought a lot about it. Like we're living in the age of the selfie, which is fantastic, right? Everybody's taking selfies. But I think that people have a need to be seen. And in a sense, although that person doesn't know I'm photographing them, I'm saying with my artwork, I see you.
Nice.
And I like that behind every person is a secret.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's so true. We see people, but we don't always know what's happening in their lives, right?